He has said he will obey the Supreme Court, and Americans want, they're willing to look at some errors on the margin, but they don't want Trump to disobey the court. And I think the president understands that, but we won't really know until you get a more direct clash. The Supreme Court tried to avoid a direct clash and hoped that he would do the right thing. I suspect we're going to get a direct clash sometime in the next month or two.
Among the roll call from the first 100 days of Donald Trump's administration, the deportation of hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador. The Supreme Court told the administration to stop it on legal grounds, but it doesn't look like the president is going to take much notice of that. And my next guest argues that Donald Trump's a kind of Dirty Harry, prioritizes real-life street justice over the black-letter formal law. And he says that many Americans are fine with that. Let's talk to Henry Olsen, a senior fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center in Washington. He's also the author of The Working Class Republican, Ronald Reagan and the Return of Blue-Collar Conservatism. Good afternoon, Henry.
Good afternoon.
Just so we get this one straight, can you explain the Dirty Harry reference?
Yeah, the Dirty Harry was a 1971 film about a cop in San Francisco who becomes disillusioned. Following the law doesn't seem to produce justice as he's trying to bring a serial killer to heel. And he ends up basically violating the guy's rights in a number of ways, violating other people's rights, ends up shooting him. And it became a huge hit in America, spawned 4 sequels, and is the defining role of Clint Eastwood's career. When he passes away, people remember him more for Dirty Harry than being the Oscar-winning director of 2 fabulous movies.
Well, yes, and of course he had the famous line, "I am old enough to remember this. Do you feel lucky, punk?" I think it defines something of the time. Do you think that is actually in the way popular amongst Americans? I mean, there's an argument that says that the American character is such that it likes this particular image of law enforcement and justice and so on so much that it's prepared to overlook some of the things it doesn't like, for example, about Mr. Trump.
Trump's supporters love this. You hear this all the time in conversation with them, which is that they take a look and they think that President Biden violated the law in a number of ways, that letting millions of people come into the country in contravention of our previous laws. You think you've got a small boats problem in the United Kingdom. You've got nothing compared to the multi-millions of people who streamed across the Rio Grande during the Biden administration. And they're willing to put up with anything. Which is that these people, many of these people were hardened criminals. They committed mass murders, rapes, and so forth. And if it takes ignoring or overlooking some niceties in the legal structure to get these people out of America, probably 80% of the people who voted for Donald Trump are just fine with it.
Well, this is an important point because most politicians are obviously guided by the likely reaction of not just people who are loyal to them, but the people they want to attract. There is a sense in which Donald Trump is unusual in that he doesn't appear to be too bothered about attracting, if you like, the penumbra of voters, the people who aren't absolutely loyal to him, but could be persuaded to vote for him. To what extent do you think that's part of the character of this administration, that it is doing what it says for its own supporters and pretty much ignoring everybody else?
That is the biggest risk that they face, is that what Trump did during the 2024 campaign is tone that tendency down. Yes, he gave red meat to the MAGA base, but he also worked very hard to attract people who had voted for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, particularly the people of color, the Latino men, the black men, and so forth. And in this administration, he seems to be going back to Trump 1, which is feed the people who show up at your rallies, feed the people who are online, and forget about those other people. And that's a recipe for midterm, not disaster, but midterm losses. It's probably why his polling numbers have dropped over the last month. And the sooner they correct that, balance it out, is better. But on immigration, a rougher hand is more popular, even with these people, than with than the alternative. So many of them voted for him because they wanted to end the crisis. They wanted to end the chaos on the southern border. They're happy to see deportations take place and solve the problem.
Well, in fact, that is a key point, isn't it? Because we've now got this what looks like it could become, if you like, an iconic case about whether someone who was clearly deported to El Salvador in error, by administrative error, is not being brought back. The Salvadorians are saying they can't, they're not going to make much effort, and the American administration's not going to make much effort, despite the fact that the court have ordered that the person should be brought back. Isn't it? This seems like a sort of direct clash between, if you like, the rule of law and popular opinion. In that situation, who wins? Is he going to be able simply to say, I know what the courts have said, but you know what? Can't be bothered.
Yeah, the Supreme Court ruling that you're referring to actually was a little indirect. They said that he was wrongly deported and that Trump should facilitate his return. If he's faced with a direct order, which is to say, do this, he has said he will obey the Supreme Court, and Americans they're willing to look at some errors on the margin, but they don't want Trump to disobey the court. And I think the president understands that, but we won't really know until you get a more direct clash. The Supreme Court tried to avoid a direct clash and hoped that he would do the right thing. I suspect we're going to get a direct clash sometime in the next month or two.
Just a very brief last question, Henry. The pace of these first 100 days has been astonishing. Can he keep it up for 4 years?
Well, he shouldn't keep it up. I don't doubt that he can keep it up, but he shouldn't keep it up. Part of the thing is that people are being flummoxed by too many changes. Too much is happening too fast and not competently. His strongest suit in campaigning is the vision that he is a strong leader. A strong leader is in control of events, not one that whipsaws back and forth. He has to have a much better May, and that means slowing it down.
Henry, thank you so much for your time. Really fascinating. That's Henry Olsen from the Ethics and Public Policy Center in Washington, D.C.